proved to me that being underappreciated is sometimes a good thing. You see, this was the first Rolex I fell in love with. It was just so different to anything else from Rolex, with a bright white dial and blacked out markers and hands that made it incredibly legible, while the red GMT hand gave a pop of color missing on almost all the other Rolex models. It was also the only sports model with an engraved steel bezel that had no insert whatsoever, making it look ready to be used and abused. That same difference to other Rolex models made it pretty unpopular, and it was one of the cheapest Rolex models you could get for a very long time. Sadly, at the time, my budget didn't allow me to get one, and by the time I saved up to finally get one, the prices went up, as the awkwardness of this model all of a sudden became popular, and the underappreciation stopped, giving this watch the much-deserved recognition. That turned out to be a bad thing for me, as the prices started rising, slipping out of my reach every time I would save up to get one. Then finally, as the world got into yet another recession, the used watch market started deflating some of those inflated prices. It finally came within my reach some half a year ago, and I wasn't gonna let that opportunity slip by, so I bought one. It was my unicorn watch that was always one step ahead of me, but finally I had it in my hands, and I must admit I loved it. One thing that strikes you right away is that it looks smaller than you expect. And true enough, when I measured it with my calipers, it is exactly 39mm in diameter, despite being advertised as a 40mm watch by pretty much everyone. Then the markers and hands. They're small and almost dainty looking, especially when compared to my modern 12 series sub. Would I prefer it if they were beefier? Yes, but the rest of the watch more than makes up for it. The 5-digit Rolex models wear unlike anything modern today, including Rolex themselves. I love my sub, don't get me wrong, but you're always aware of it being on your wrist. The case, the modern bracelet and clasp all have a heft and presence to them that you cannot ignore. This, on the other hand, is light, slim, and just disappears on your wrist. It's hard to explain, but let's just say it has impressed me so much that I started looking at 5-digit Submariners as well. If you're into specs and features, you will find the bracelet disappointing. But just as I said in my Explorer I video, despite having hollow central links and the basic stamped clasp, it makes up in comfort what it lacks in features. If, however, you just can't wear such a flimsy bracelet, have no fear, as this is one of the best, if not the best Rolex watches to wear on a strap. It truly defines the term strap monster. No matter what you put it on, material or color-wise, it ends up looking great. After switching out half a dozen straps, I settled with this gray suede one, and I have to admit I love the look. I'm the first one to always praise use of stock bracelets, and despite liking this on the bracelet as well, I keep it on this strap 95% of the time. When it comes to purchasing one, know that there are 4 generations of this 16570 reference, as it is one of the longest running models in the Rolex catalog ever, with a 22-year production run, and each one has its benefits and flaws. If you're into vintage looks with patina and discoloration and don't mind the loss of lume functionality over time, then you should look for the first generation that features tritium and is identified with a Swiss T25 on the dial. That one was superseded by the second generation that will never develop patina or change color with time, as it used Luminova, which is the first generation of the now famous luminous paint. That one is identified by the words Swiss on the dial at 6 o'clock. Both these generations come with traditionally drilled lugs and hollow endlings. Then we come to this, third generation that I got. It is identified by the words Swiss made at 6 o'clock, which meant yet another transition to an upgraded modern Super Luminova, which makes this really potent in the dark. This variant, depending on the year of production, can come with solid end links like mine does, and can still be had with or without drilled lugs. I went with drilled lugs, which proved to be the right decision given how much I like it on a strap. All three of these share the same 3185 movement that is truly bulletproof, and the one in mine is within 1 second a day, functioning perfectly even though the watch is more than 20 years old. Finally, the last and probably the most desirable generation is the fourth one, that is recognized with the laser engraved rehaut with Rolex inscriptions. That marked the switch to a newer 3186 movement that solved the jerky GMT hand problem 3185 had, but also introduced a new one, as the jumping hour mechanism can get damaged during usage, something Rolex solves permanently if you send it in for service, which you have to take into account in case the watch has never been serviced. Sadly, that model has lost the drilled lugs, so strap changes are not as easy as on the earlier ones. I went with this third generation simply because it had everything I wanted while also being priced lower than the first and fourth. If you decide to get one, go with the generation you find suits you best. And no matter which one you choose, it won't be a mistake. My only mistake was not getting one sooner, as it would have saved me a ton of money. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed and found it useful. If you did, please like and subscribe, and until the next video, bye.